Do you know something paradoxical? The people who fail the most in life are sometimes our greatest teachers. Sounds strange, doesn't it? But pause for a moment and reflect. Every time you stumble, every time you fail, are you listening to the lesson life is trying to teach you? I want you to think about a friend of mine who failed multiple times in business ventures. Each failure cost him money, time, and confidence. But do you know what made the difference? He didn't give up. He learned. He took notes on what went wrong, analyzed what wasn't right, and kept moving forward. One day, through persistence and learning from his failures, he built a successful business that many dream of. And I want to tell you, you don't have to wait for success to learn. Failure is your teacher. It's a mirror. It shows you your strengths, your weaknesses, and the mistakes you need to fix. You can choose to complain about failure. You can choose to blame circumstances, or you can choose to learn from it and become better. Picture this, you're walking on a rough road, and every time you stumble, you're given a brick. At first, you think, why did I fail again? But if you look closely, each brick is part of a staircase leading you to the top. Every failure has value if you know how to pick it up, learn from it, and place it in the right spot. I want to ask you a question right now. Are you ignoring the lessons that failure is trying to teach you? Keep that question in mind as we continue, because today we're going to dive deep into how failure becomes a great teacher, how you learn from your own mistakes and those of others, and most importantly, how to turn failure into action to grow and achieve lasting success. Get ready, because what I'm about to share isn't just theory, it's real life experience, distilled from decades of observation and teaching. And you'll see that failure isn't your enemy, but your strongest ally on the path to growth. You see, many people look at failure with fear, as if it's the most dangerous enemy in the world. They avoid it, deny it, or even pretend it doesn't exist. But the truth is, failure isn't the enemy. It's a great teacher, but you have to learn how to listen. Imagine this. You're training for your first marathon. Your legs ash. Your heart races. Sweat drips down your face. You stumble at kilometer 3. You can choose to sit there and complain about your body, your shoes, or the world. Or you can get up, examine how you fell, adjust your stride, and keep going. Those next steps, however small, bring you closer to the finish line. Failure, in this case, is a lesson you can't buy with money or read in books. Think about the people you admire in history. Thomas Edison, who failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb, said, I haven't failed. I've just found 10 ways that don't work. He wasn't just persistent. He knew how to draw lessons from each failure. Every unsuccessful experiment was new data, a map guiding him to the right solution. Edison's failures didn't destroy him, they forged him, turning each mistake into a brick, paving the road to success. And here's what most people overlook. Failure only becomes frightening if you don't learn from it. But how do we learn from failure? Failure isn't just an event, it's a reflection of ourselves. It shows you what you're lacking, skills you haven't mastered, attitudes that aren't right, knowledge you don't yet have. It's a mirror. When you stumble, you see your weaknesses. When you're rejected, you realize why you weren't prepared. When a plan fails, you learn what to change next time. Imagine you're an explorer in a vast desert. Every sandstorm, every wrong turn, every misstep is a vivid lesson. If you give up, you lose everything. But if you learn to observe, to find the right path, you'll discover water, you'll find the way, and ultimately, you'll reach the treasure hidden in the desert. Failure is the desert. but the lessons you learn are the precious water. You might think failure is something negative, but I want you to remember, every failure is a gift in disguise. It gives you a chance to reflect, improve, and grow. Each stumble is an opportunity to become stronger, wiser, more confident. If you approach failure with the right mindset, you'll see it teaches you more than success. Success that comes quickly rarely teaches you about patience, strategy, or self-control. Failure is different. It spares no detail, forces you to face reality. And if you listen, you gain lessons that money or luck can't buy. Look back at yourself. How many times have you failed and ignored the lesson? You might recall failing an important exam or a project you thought you were prepared for. Instead of learning, many people feel discouraged, frustrated, and give up. But successful people know that every failure is a treasure if they know how to find and unlock it. They observe, analyze, and turn failure into data to do better next time. Let me tell you this, failure is the fairest teacher you'll ever meet. It doesn't care about wealth, age, or education. It doesn't play favorites. It simply reflects exactly what you need to improve, but you have to listen, accept, and act. If you don't, failure is just a scar, painful, but worthless. And here's the final secret I want you to remember in this part. No failure is truly a failure if you learn from it. Each lesson from failure is a step on the staircase to success. You may stumble, you may fall, but if you know how to get up, learn, and keep going, failure becomes your strongest ally. You see, failure isn't something mysterious. It's not a test to punish you. Failure is simply a mirror reflecting your life, your actions, choices, attitudes, and mindset. But most people only see the surface of failure, complaining or blaming, never stopping to analyze its deeper causes. Imagine you're walking on a rough road with huge potholes. Each time you trip, it's a signal. But if you don't observe, you'll keep falling into the next pothole. Analyzing the cause of failure is like stopping, looking at the road, studying each bump, and finding a way to pass without tripping again. Failure often stems from three main causes. And I want you to remember each one, because when you recognize them, you can control the path ahead. Lack of knowledge and skills. Many failures come from diving into something without enough knowledge or skills. This sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people think trying hard is enough. No. Effort is important, but effort without knowledge is like trying to drive a car without knowing how to use the brakes. Look at Thomas Edison again. Do you think inventing the light bulb was just a spark of an idea one night? No. He tested thousands of different materials for the filament. Each failure was a chance to learn. This material burns too easily, that one doesn't conduct enough electricity. Each time, he gained new knowledge. The lesson here is, you may fail, but if you learn, failure turns into data, and data turns into knowledge. If you don't learn, you'll go in circles, repeating the same mistakes. Ask yourself, in this failure, what knowledge or skill was I missing? What do I need to learn to do better next time? Lack of strategy and clear planning. Another common cause I see. People work hard but have no specific plan. They dive into work or projects without knowing the next step, without knowing the desired outcome. And the result is failure. Imagine you want to build a house. If you just start piling bricks without a blueprint, you'll build something, but it'll surely collapse. In life, many people act without a strategy and then wonder, why am I not successful? The answer is often you didn't plan, You didn't know the necessary steps to achieve the desired result. A friend of mine spent hours every day making calls, meeting clients, but his results didn't improve. When I asked, he admitted he had no specific strategy, just acting on inspiration and immediate demands. When he made a plan, setting clear goals, identifying target clients, allocating time wisely, his results completely changed. The lesson: hard work alone isn't enough. You need to be smart, have a strategy, and take action, step by step, according to the plan. Inappropriate attitude and mindset. The third cause, and perhaps the most important, is your mindset and attitude. Failure doesn't destroy you, but a pessimistic, fearful, or give up too soon mindset can kill your dreams. Many people fail not because of a lack of knowledge or skills, but because they believe failure is their fate, that everything is too hard, or that they don't deserve success. Picture this: your mindset is like the sail of a boat. If the sail is torn, no matter how strong the wind blows, the boat won't move. If your mindset is limited, you won't see opportunities. You won't find ways to overcome challenges. But if your mindset is open, you'll see lessons, find ways to adjust, and keep moving forward. For example, an entrepreneur who fails the first time might think, the world isn't fair, I'm done. But if they change their mindset, viewing failure as valuable data, they'll improve their strategy, learn new skills, and keep experimenting. Your mindset determines what you learn from failure and how far you'll go. Failure is an opportunity to observe and adjust. Imagine you're a pilot. Each rough landing requires analysis. Too fast? Wrong approach angle? Headwinds? You won't learn by just complaining. You have to observe, analyze, adjust, and try again. Life is similar. Failure is a chance to observe behavior, review plans, adjust strategies, and refine yourself. A successful person isn't someone who never fails. They're the ones who read the signs, analyze causes, and turn lessons into specific actions. They don't complain. They don't get pessimistic. They turn failure into data, data into strategy, strategy into action, and action into success. Final lesson of this part: every failure is a mirror, a map, a message, but you have to stop, observe, analyze, and learn. If you don't, failure is just pointless pain. When you learn to look deeply into failure, you'll see that lacking knowledge or skills, learn. Lacking a plan or strategy, plan smartly. Inappropriate mindset, adjust your attitude, expand your mind, and the most important thing, you're never wrong if you learn from failure. You're only wrong if you ignore the lesson. You know, one of the greatest secrets of successful people is that they don't just learn from their own failures, they learn from the failures of others. Learning from others shortens your path, letting you stand on the shoulders of those who came before to see farther and move faster. Imagine you're climbing a mountain. If you go alone, you have to try every path, stumble over everything, and likely waste a lot of energy and time. But if you have a guide who's climbed that mountain before, they'll show you the dangerous cliffs, the slippery slopes, the places to rest. You'll move faster, safer, and more effectively. Their failures become valuable lessons for you. There are 3 key ways to learn from others' failures. Observe and identify mistakes. The first step is to observe how others fail. You can read their stories, listen to their experiences, or witness them directly. Every failure leaves traces, wrong decisions, incorrect attitudes, lack of strategy, or limited thinking. For example, An entrepreneur lost all his capital in a new tech project. He shared, "I ignored market research. I was too confident in my idea." You see that and learn. Always research. Always verify before acting. You don't have to lose capital. You just learn from their experience. Observing failure is like studying a detailed painting. If you pay attention to the small details, you'll see the causes from wrong decisions to unwise actions, and you'll know how to avoid repeating those mistakes. Analyze and draw lessons. Observing isn't enough. You have to think deeply and analyze the causes like a scientist studying data. Ask yourself, why did this person fail? Could they have done something differently? What can I learn from their experience? Here's an example. I know someone who tried to open a restaurant chain but failed after 2 years. The reason wasn't a lack of cooking skills, but because he didn't understand his customers, didn't manage finances well, and was overly optimistic about growth. If you analyze closely, you get 3 valuable lessons. Understand the market before investing. Manage finances tightly. Don't rely on belief or hope, but on data and planned action. When you analyze others' failures, you not only learn how to avoid mistakes, but also how to do better before you even try. Apply lessons to your life. After analyzing, the crucial next step is turning lessons into specific actions. This is where most people fall short. They know others' mistakes, but don't turn them into plans for themselves. You can't just listen without acting otherwise. Knowledge is just useless theory. Imagine you're learning to play golf. You see someone miss the ball repeatedly at the same spot. You don't just watch. You step into that position, adjust your swing, control your strength, and try again. When you apply, you avoid the mistakes others made. In life, applying lessons from others' failures is the same. You recognize, adjust your actions, and experiment more intelligently. A real-life example. I know a student entrepreneur who read books about failed business people, listened to their stories, and drew strategies. Don't invest all capital. Test small first. Check market feedback, and learn to manage risks. The result? He avoided serious failures and achieved success earlier than his peers. The most important thing I want you to remember: others' failures are treasures if you know how to recognize them. Observe, analyze, apply is the golden formula. You don't have to pay the price of your own failures, but you can still gain their value. Every observed failure is a brick paving the road to your success, and you don't have to endure as much pain or time as they did. Imagine this. You're on your career path, and each failure of others is like a road sign. If you read it carefully, you understand the message, and adjust your steps, you'll avoid pitfalls, move faster, and travel safer. This is why successful people know how to learn not only from their own failures, but also from those around them. And I want you to ask yourself right now, are you ready to observe, analyze, and turn others' failures into your own lessons? Keep that question in mind, because in the next part, I'll guide you on how to turn all these lessons from failure, yours and others, into specific actions to not only learn, but truly transform your life. You know, failure is inevitable in life. Everyone will stumble. Everyone will face challenges. But what matters isn't how many times you fall, it's what you do after you fall. Failure only becomes dangerous when you let it define you. When you believe each fall is the end. Imagine you're standing before a raging river. The water flows fiercely. Rocks jut out everywhere. And every step is dangerous. If you let fear take over, you'll stand still or turn back. But if you realize the river isn't your enemy, but a challenge to build your resilience, you'll take careful steps, check for safety, and find a way across. Failure is the same. It's a challenge, an opportunity to build mental strength and see that you have more potential than you thought. Remember, true motivation doesn't always come from excitement. It comes from decision You decide not to let failure crush you. You decide to learn, adjust, and keep going. I once said, don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better. Failure is a test, and you get to choose how to respond. You can let it weaken you or turn it into fuel to move forward. Look at a real example. I know an entrepreneur who failed 3 times with different projects. The first time, he lost capital due to a lack of market knowledge. The second time, poor financial management drained him. The third time, a partner's withdrawal sank the project. Many would quit after the third time, but he didn't. Instead, he documented the lessons, analyzed the causes, studied thoroughly before starting the next project. The fourth time, he succeeded. The 3 prior failures didn't destroy him, they prepared him to become a winner. The lesson I want you to remember, failure is only temporary if you hold on to your will and motivation. Each failure is a brick paving the road. You can't skip it and still move forward. It's not the enemy, but a silent guide, teaching you how to adjust, stand up, and go farther than before. A principle I always teach. No failure exists if you learn from it and keep moving forward. When you learn to accept failure without letting it defeat you, you'll have lasting motivation. Motivation no one can take away. It doesn't rely on luck or circumstances, but on your daily decision. Stand up, learn, and act. Imagine you're climbing a high mountain. You slip a few times, get scraped, feel exhausted, and sometimes want to give up. If you quit, you'll never see the breathtaking view at the top. But if you accept that slipping is part of the journey, that each scrape is a sign you're on the right path, you'll learn to balance, climb better, and eventually reach the summit. Life is the same. Failure is a lesson, and no failure can stop you if you hold on to your spirit and motivation. Here's a practice I recommend. Every time you face failure, write down 3 things. What happened? Describe the event objectively, without judgment, just the facts. What did I learn from it? Identify specific lessons, skills to improve, attitudes to change, strategies to adjust. What will I do differently next time? Turn the lesson into a specific, clear action, even if small. When you practice this, you turn frustration into valuable data, fear into energy, and failure into a stepping stone to move forward. Remember, failure is never the end if you hold on to your spirit and motivation. It only becomes the end if you sit still, complain, and don't get up again. And here's the key message I want you to engrave in your mind. You are not your failures, you are your actions, decisions, and responses to failure. Finally, ask yourself right now, will I let failure defeat me? Or will I use it as motivation to move forward? Keep that question in mind, because in the next part, we'll go further. I'll show you how to turn all the lessons from failure, yours and others, into specific actions to not only learn, but truly transform your life. Step by step, failure, you see, never appears in life without purpose. It's a teacher, a mirror, a flame lighting your path, but only if you know how to seize it. Many people look at failure and feel discouraged, afraid, or give up. But those you admire, those who achieve brilliant success, you know that failure isn't the end, but a signal to act smarter. Imagine you're standing on a long beach. Each stone under your feet a failure you've experienced. You can walk, trying to avoid them, or you can pick up each stone, examine it closely, and arrange them into a solid path leading to the shore you desire. Failure can't stop you unless you let it halt your steps. It's how you stand up, observe, and act that decides whether you'll keep going far. Record failure and analyze in detail. The first step is to record everything failure teaches you. Each failure is a message, but if you ignore it, you'll never know what went wrong or what needs adjusting. Picture every failure as a mirror reflecting your entire process, how you prepared, thought, acted, and reacted. Write down your failure. What happened? What caused the lack of success, and how you felt facing it. Writing it down helps you see failure objectively, no longer clouded by emotion. When you see the cause clearly, you can turn failure into real data, not pointless pain. Choose action based on lessons. After recording, you must turn knowledge into action. Doing nothing makes it all meaningless. Failure isn't just for observing, but for changing how you move forward. Imagine you're an explorer crossing a dense forest for the first time. You trip over branches, slip, feel exhausted and confused. You could give up. But if you stop, examine where you tripped, learn to step carefully, and move cautiously, you'll keep going and cross the forest. In life, failure is like that forest. You learn to find the right path, balance, and prepare before each step. A specific example: a student fails an important exam. If they only complain, miss opportunities, and don't learn, the failure is pointless pain. But if they analyze the cause, weak knowledge in a certain area, ineffective study methods, poor review strategies, and make a specific action plan for the next exam, they've turned failure into an opportunity to grow and win next time. Small but consistent action, one of the most important things I want to emphasize. Action doesn't need to be grand, but must be continuous and consistent. Failure gives you data, but consistent action turns that data into strength. Imagine you're building a wall. Each brick, a small action drawn from failure. You place a brick today, another tomorrow, and over time, you have a solid wall. Small, consistent, patient steps are the key to turning failure into success. Success doesn't come from a single leap, but from continuous steps forged from failure's lessons. Learn from others' failures, not only from your own failures, but also from others. Every failure story is a lesson, a light illuminating your path. Observe how others stumble, analyze why they failed, and apply it to your situation. For example, an entrepreneur failed by choosing the wrong market. A founder missed an opportunity by procrastinating, so a team failed due to poor coordination. All offer valuable lessons. You don't have to endure their pain, but you can still learn, adjust, and move forward. Act immediately. The final thing I want to emphasize: action must happen immediately. Don't wait for inspiration or perfect conditions. Failure is a message, but it's only valuable when you respond with action. Every step, however small, turns failure into strength and brings you closer to your goal. Picture a cycler. You fail, record the lesson, analyze, plan action, execute, and evaluate results. Repeat this process continuously. When you do, failure is no longer an enemy, but a source of energy, inspiration, and a silent teacher guiding you step by step to success. Now, let's review the journey we've taken. Failure isn't an enemy, but the fairest teacher in life. Analyzing failure helps you see the causes, from lacking knowledge or skills to inappropriate mindset and attitude. Observing others' failures is a smart way to learn without paying a high price, shortening the path to success, and most importantly, turning lessons from failure into specific, persistent, consistent action is how you create real change. But now, I want you to understand something deeper. Failure only has power when you let it teach you, guide you, and challenge you to be better. If you only see it with negative eyes, complaining and fearing, you'll stay still forever. But if you accept it, learn from it, and turn it into motivation, you'll walk a path only those who rise after failure can see. Imagine you're standing before a mirror. Your failures are the reflection in it. You can hate that reflection, deny it. But if you look straight, learn from it, and act on what you see, you'll transform from someone who once stumbled into someone strong, confident, and resolute. I want to tell you one more story about someone I know well. He started with nothing, failed countless times in his career, from business losses to personal setbacks. But each time, he didn't give up. He observed, analyzed, learned from his own and others' failures, and most importantly, acted immediately, without delay or complaint. In the end, he became someone many admire, a successful entrepreneur, a reliable companion, and a person who grew through every failure. And I want you to ask yourself right now, what have you learned from the failures in your life? Are you standing up and acting, or are you still standing still, looking back at the past? And keep that question in your mind and use it to drive action. Every step you take today, however small, you can change your life in ways you never imagined. You won't just change your work results, success, or finances. You'll change yourself. You'll become disciplined, patient, confident, and capable of overcoming any challenge. Because success isn't a destination, but the person you become on that journey. And here's the final message I want you to engrave in your mind. Failure isn't there to knock you down, but to help you stand taller. You'll walk, learn, and grow. You'll turn pain into strength, stumbles into stepping stones, and failure into action. So now, ask yourself, what's holding me back? Where will I start acting? What will I learn from my failures today? Remember, all change begins with you. No one else can change your life. Act today. Learn from every failure, and step by step, you'll become the best version of yourself. And one final message, like a seed planted in your mind, let failure guide you, but don't let it defeat you. Let its lessons shape you, but don't let it define you. Act. And you'll see that life isn't just about what you dream, it's about who you become on that journey.